Hello, everybody, and welcome to Love Week at Human Echoes. Today I'm giving you a special presentation on My Bloody Valentine, a 1981 Canadian slasher flick. Basically, this is a slasher that follows a lot of the same beats as the standard 1980s and late 1970s slasher flicks. It covers a lot of the same bases. You got young people having sex, you got a lot of different things going on that are like other slasher movies. This one is a little bit different because it gives you a really cool new setting to work with, which is basically a mining town in Nova Scotia with lots of underground scenes. So you're getting to see some different stuff other than just like log cabins and things like that. The story itself takes place in an old Canadian mining town. 20 years before, there was an accident that killed several miners, leaving one sole survivor who had to resort to cannibalism to survive. He basically went crazy, killed the people that were in charge of the Valentine's Day dance because those supervisors that were supposed to be helping out the miners were at the dance instead of doing their duties. Essentially, he warned that if they ever had that dance again, he would come back and murder them all. 20 years later, they are starting to have this dance again. Lo and behold, the slasher comes back. Fact number 1. The film was shot in actual mines. Director George Mahalka wanted the mines to feel authentic, so he leased out space in a Nova Scotia mining town. The mines had been decommissioned for about 7 years before filming started, so there was a lot of wear and tear already on the town and the mine itself. Because the mines were 2,700 feet deep, it took a long time with small elevators to get cast and equipment down there. Every morning it took at least an hour to get people from the top to the bottom of the mine so that they could start filming. There were a lot of challenges here. The director said that it was absolutely grueling dealing with it because they had to worry about everything, including how many lights they had on set, because if it got a little too hot it could cause a methane explosion, to just basically being filmed in cramped quarters. It was a very hard shoot. Also, because of the color of the stone down there was a lot of limestone that made it white. They spent more than $30,000 spraying down parts of the mine so that it would give it a more dark appearance. Fact number 2. The town of Sydney Falls renovated their town to make it look better for the film. Sydney Falls was picked because it looked isolated, run down, and basically in the middle of nowhere. When townsfolk heard that there was going to be a movie filmed there, they decided to spend $50,000 to resurface a lot of buildings, to paint the mine, and generally clear up any debris and trash that was around. They were hoping that the film would actually bring more tourism to their little town. Unfortunately, because the worn-down feeling was so essential for the film, the crew had to spend about $70,000 making it look old again. It backfired a little bit on Sydney Falls. Fact number 3. My Bloody Valentine was created in response to the success of Halloween and Black Christmas. Producers Andre Link and John Dunning noticed that holiday slashers had actually had a lot of success, and so they looked to see which holidays didn't have them before. They could have settled on a few other holidays, but they decided they were going to run with Valentine's Day. They titled the project The Secret in an effort to make sure that nobody stole their work or produced a slasher film faster, since it is a relatively easy genre to create films in. This movie did come out during the peak of the slasher boom, but it didn't have the commercial success of Halloween. It was able to at least double the production cost, though. It cost about $2 million to make, it made more than $5 million in theaters, and the DVD sales and VHS sales actually helped out a lot. It never quite did enough to make a sequel directly from this movie, but it did inspire a 2009 remake, which was very popular at the time. Fact number 4. Up to 9 minutes of this film was cut out to give it an R rating. Following the death of John Lennon, there was actually a pretty large backlash against violence in film. This movie came out shortly after that, so the MPA was very harsh on the type of violence that it was going to allow. They had to cut out scenes like cannibalism, they had to cut out a lot of gore, and essentially strip a lot of the violence from this movie. Director George Mahalka claims that 9 minutes were actually cut, although a lot of producers say this is actually closer to 4 minutes, and that might have been a little bit of hyperbole. A few specific scenes that were cut were there was more time spent viewing Mabel's corpse. She had one of the more gruesome deaths in which she was basically put into a dryer. That looked very, very, very gruesome. There was a death where somebody had their face shoved into a pot of boiling hot dogs, and that looked like it would have been pretty bad, especially considering the makeup was bad enough that several people on set actually threw up from seeing it. A lot of deaths ended up having to be off-screen, like the character of Harriet and Michael were actually impaled And they filmed that, but they weren't able to put that in the movie. They could only show the aftermath. Blood was cut out from many deaths. A lot of times you just see the pickaxe swing into somebody and just stick. There would be more blood, of course, but because of the way the movie had to be done, you only saw the result of it going in, not the after result. A director's cut was released by Lionsgate when they got access to the DVD rights. They added about 3 minutes, they upped the violence, they showed the cannibalism. There were still a few things that didn't quite get shown, but the director claims that this is as close to his vision as people are going to see. Fact number 5. The identity of the killer was kept from the cast until the last moment. Neil Affleck said in several interviews that the killer's identity was kept from the other cast members because they wanted to instill a sense of mystery. It also helped that whenever they had interactions on film, it wouldn't influence the actors to act differently around him and give away the secret. Affleck, though, was able to piece together that he was the killer because they had several prosthetics made specially for him. The miner/killer was actually played by a man named Peter Cowper, who was a little bit bigger, a little bit more menacing on the screen. It isn't until much later, whenever the killer's unmasked, that Neil Affleck would actually be in the mining suit. I won't pretend that there's any highfalutin reason why this movie is scary or that there's some higher level concepts going on here. It's just a competent slasher movie. It's simple, it's enjoyable, but it has a lot of heart, even if those hearts are placed into chocolate boxes. It's full of Canadian charm, it has a lot to like, and it's just simply one you can sit back and have some popcorn with. I also like that it has some interesting kills and it gives a slasher some new toys to play with. It's definitely not just one weapon like a machete or anything like that like you get in the Jason movies. A lot of it's with a pickaxe, a lot of it's a little more creative than that. Lots of hooks, lots of different things happening there. Thank you all for watching this bonus edition of 5 Facts. Remember that even if this holiday was invented to sell cards and crap like that, it's still always important to remind that person that you love that you still are into them, that you still want to do special things for them. Sometimes it takes a holiday like this for you to just take the time, remind yourself why you love this person in general, and just have some fun. I hope you all have a wonderful day. If you enjoyed this, hit like and subscribe, check out the Human Echoes podcast, and we will see you next week.